D.C. I'm going to just ask him to stand. We've got Brendan Steinhauser, who's here today from the National Office of Freedom Works. Would you welcome Brendan with us here today? For those of you who don't know who I am, that never made sense to me. For those of you who don't know who I am, even if you know who I am, I'm still Pat Miller, so it doesn't matter. But I come to you from News Talk 1190 WOWO Radio in Fort Wayne, Indiana. We're a very small 50,000 watt clear voice radio station that comes slamming into your car every day. But I bring you greetings from our station, our program director, Dan Mandis, who is actually here today. That's all right. That's the first time Dan has had applause, I think, since '97, if I'm remembering right. But we're very glad that he's here. But from everybody, the producers, the phone screeners, Andy Ober and the people in his news department, from everybody at News Talk 1190 WOWO, they all thank you for allowing me to be here today. I do need to tell you, and this is a little bit of a problem, just as I was leaving last night after I finished the program, which I know you listened to from 3 to 6. We need to keep that up, by the way. You think I'm doing that for fun? I'm pushing it, all right? But I did get this from our news department that I do need to read to you. This was something that came over the wire. Andy handed it to me right when I was leaving yesterday, Dan. Ruling members, and I'm quoting now, ruling members of the former Taliban, as they try to regroup and retake strongholds in Afghanistan, have said that if the United States does not willfully and immediately leave the nation of Afghanistan, and likewise curtail all their military efforts to combat what they call the war against terror in other Arab countries and provinces, the ruling Taliban authorities would not hesitate for a moment to cut off the free flow supply to the United States of all convenience store managers. So I think we need to be very careful what we say here today. The consequences could be amazing. So, yeah. In addition, just so you know, in addition to hosting the Pat Miller program every day from 3 to 6, News Talk 1190 WOWO, I also have an insurance and financial planning agency, and somebody stopped me in the hall and says, "What's your real job?" I said, "I've heard you on the radio, that can't be it." But I do have an insurance agency, and I don't want you to feel odd or anything. I didn't bring any life insurance and annuity applications into the building or anything. They're all out of my car. It's a great choice. As soon as we leave today, if you get single file or by the car, we'll do that. I also bring you greetings from my wife, Kim, who's been ill and could not be here today, and just talked to her by phone. She said to tell you all hi, so hi. My daughters, Shannon and Courtney, which is why I really do what it is I do. Because one of these days I won't be here, but they'll be here, and then their kids will be here, and then their kids will be here. You and I are here today because somewhere in the past there were patriots who made sure they held true to the first Patriots creed, and because of that, you and I enjoy the life that we have today. Part of the drive in my life is to make sure that what we do here goes so far beyond just what I enjoy in my life now, but it's there for us to pass it on as we pay forward a lot of good things in life. If you save for your 401k and your IRA because you're concerned about the future, you better start investing in your freedom. Because one of these days you might find out that you have a pocket full of money that's worth almost nothing, because you'll be in a country that no longer recognizes it or recognizes you, and we can't have that. So that's why we're here to do what we do. I look back at what caused us to get to the point to where we were shaken to our core. How horrible for 9/11, and how grateful I am in kind of a weird backhanded way that God did not cause it, but that He did allow it. You see how horrible that is. Nothing shook us to our core like 9/11 and made us realize that we were vulnerable. And the vulnerability that I'm so worried about now is not the vulnerabilities from over there, but the vulnerabilities from within us. Those are the ones that scare me. Those where we have representatives in Congress and in the Senate and in the White House who have decided that listening to their own voice is more important than listening to the voice of their constituents. Guess what? You were sent there to represent us, not to step over us. And we're going to demand that you do that. Just this last week, we recognized the great leadership of the movement of Dr. Martin Luther King. And Dr. King said, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where where he stands in times of controversy and challenge. I've never known more controversy and challenge than where we stand today. And what we need today is not just somebody that wets their finger and sticks it in the air to see which way the political wind is blowing, that doesn't check with the people in D.C. and all of the lobbyists and all the special interests and his buddies in the Senate Club, that doesn't look around to the high dollar people that come and throw money at him the night before Tea Party events. We need somebody who will look beyond their own political future and look to the future of America and the future of us all. That's what we need. I'm reminded. If you remember the night of 9/11, the buildings were hit somewhere around 9. Over the course of the next couple of hours, they came down. And then we had memories etched in our brain of people covered with the soot and the dust of those buildings. We started hearing death tolls. We started hearing names of people that had died. We saw weeping wives and mothers and children looking for their loved ones and not being able to find them. And then that night, late that evening, on the steps of the Capitol, do you remember the scene? Linked arm in arm, congressmen and senators from both parties who said, on this night, we are not Democrats, we are not Republicans, we are Americans. And in my heart and mind, I was as gullible as you are. In my mind, I watched that and thought, maybe out of this horrible tragedy, something marvelous is going to sweep across this place. And within 2 weeks, we had arguments and screamings in House subcommittees about how come administrations didn't connect the dots. That maybe the president knew before it happened. Maybe we caused it. And the bickering and the biting and the fighting became worse after 9/11 than it even was before 9/11. Do me a favor. If you're a member of Congress, and because of our good friends here, you might just hear part of this. The next time something horrible happens like a 9/11, after it happens, if you plan over the next couple of weeks to turn tail and run, if you plan to not fully fund our troops, if you plan to put a general in charge of the troops in Afghanistan and then leave him hanging when he asks for an increase of troops and supplies, if you plan to announce to the enemy when it is we're going to pull our troops out so we make them more vulnerable, then do me a favor. Don't come out on the steps of our Capitol and sing to us, God bless America, in your off-key, hypocritical voice. I know how the song goes. I don't need you singing it to me. I look around America and I see in America and today in Indiana, and I get to hear from many of you in this room, but a lot of great people that call into my show. I see an awful lot of what's right, still right in America. And it's not the size, we're not the biggest state. We're not the most populous, we're not the biggest landmass. I do think, though, that our finger is right on the pulse of the heartland of America. I thought it was really great that the place that we meet today is Heartland Church. That's pretty good advertising right there, isn't it? Because conservative Republican congregation wasn't open today. So we had it here. So that's But I see so much of what's right. You say, well, what's right? Let me tell you what's right. It's the heart. It's the Ronald Reagan, Mike Pence, Sarah Palin values that we need to get back to. That's what's right with America, and they don't get it. They just don't get it. If you stand up today, as somebody did yesterday, and as they're transferring the congresswoman, and thank God that God spared her life, and thank God she's going to recover, but as they're transporting her from Tucson to Houston, they still say, well, if all this rhetoric would stop, none of this would have happened. Wake up! For crying out loud. If I have to come down there and smack sense into you, I'll clear it down my calendar.
I'll help you.
Today isn't about who. Who is it that's going to end up being our candidate? Because we'll get to that. We will get to that. But to get to the right who, we need to understand the what. The who I'm most worried about today isn't the guy who will stand up here in a few months in a blue suit and a patriotic tie and his hair perfectly combed and he'll give us all the answers that we need. The who I'm more concerned about today are the ones that are in this building right now, you and me. The problem is that in the past, even in past elections, even in the most recent past election and the recent past primary, we didn't collectively have our who in order. And because of that, as I say on my program, we Ross Perot ourselves. Look, Dan Coates is a nice guy. Okay? He's a great guy. I had voted for him in the past, but votes in the past do not bind me to vote for you in the future. Okay? If I sense, and if the country senses that it's time to move back closer to the Constitution, to pick that document up and to realize it's not just something from days gone by, it's not just whims and wishes that conservative patriots at the start put together, but now it's less important, but we see it as the vibrant, breathing document that it is. And if I see the need for that for my country and my daughters and their daughters and their daughters, and you don't see it, then I voted for you in the past, but it's time for us to move on. Look, you either get on the train or I'll wave to you at the station, but we will part ways. I often talk when I go about, and I've spoken at some of your tea parties, and some of you today that are hearing me for the first time, you find out I've spoken at other tea parties. I hear what you're saying. Why? They were very desperate. In fact, one lady stopped me out in the hall, and she saw my name tag, she goes, "You're Pat Miller?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "You're the Pat Miller from WOWO?" And I said, "Yeah." She looked at me and she kind of looked me up and down. She went, "Oh." And I could see the disappointment. And I see you, ma'am. Let me explain to you your disappointment, okay? And our good friends from TV will tell you this. They always tell us that TV adds about 15 pounds. Obviously, radio adds more. Which is... I figure that if I come and speak to groups, I don't know what you pay your speaker normally, but you have to figure that with me, you're getting more pound for the dollar. When I speak to groups, I often tell them of the 5 points of my life. And that if you get any of them out of order, you mess up the one that follows. The first is faith. As the pastor graciously and truthfully acknowledges before he prayed here this morning, to have our faith in order, our collective faith. This country was founded, by the way, for the acceptance of those who choose to worship any God or no God if they like. But make no mistake about it. This country was founded, as we'll hear from some of our patriots in just a minute, was founded on the principles not of the worship of just any God, but go back and read your Constitution, go back and read the Federalist Papers, and you'll find out. This country was founded on the principles of those who said, this is a place that will be founded on the principles and the writings of God, and that is Jesus Christ and Him crucified, buried, risen, and coming again. That's where our founding is. So it's important to have your faith in place. And then following that, secondly, it's important to be a husband than a father. I've had people take me to task on that. They'll say, well, shouldn't you be a good father first because you're going to lose your kids sooner? Let me tell you something. I have 2 daughters. The best way for me to make sure that they find true love in their life, the best way for them to find the right kind of man to be the man in their life, who will love them as he should and treat them as they deserve, is for them to see in my life that when I look at Kim Miller, she is the only woman for me. Our kids learn more from what is taught than what is taught. And my kids catch me falling in love with my wife every day. So I have my right relationship with God, then my right relationship with my wife, then my right relationship with my children, then I'm a conservative, and then maybe I'm a Republican. If you get any of those 5 out of order, you screw up what comes after. You get them out of order. If I get the kids before my wife, the home is a shambles. If I get Republican before conservative, you get Dick Luke.